So just some conversation, just regular conversation, and I'll just pick some stuff out of there. So I had a good time today.
Yeah.
I think yesterday was more fun though.
Yesterday was.
I enjoyed the somewhat rougher roads yesterday.
Yeah, I thought it was a good, good rolling day yesterday. It sort of went from you have some little challenges, and then you'd have the road smooth out a little bit. You have some good scenery. You get to look up, and really enjoy what was around you, and then you'd have a little challenge again, and it's just, I don't know, it seemed like it was a good flow to the day yesterday.
We had a lot of lakes.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about being up there, man. So there's just so much to enjoy that, as long as you don't mind the mosquitoes, that's fine. But
There were a few mosquitoes.
But it wasn't too bad.
It's nice tonight.
It's very nice, and no mosquitoes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the bees or whatever they were, but they seem to be going.
They're gonna get in your tent. They're still. I just went and put my extra battery charger up, and
they're all down the tent.
They're still trying to get in, man.
I wonder if there's a hive or something over in that area that we're in there.
Maybe so. I don't know what that. You threw that little piece of hive paper or whatever in there.
I just found it on the ground back over here.
I thought you picked it fresh from the tree with your hardcore. Got the bees off of it and everything.
When I was in Honduras, I was on temporary duty in Honduras, and I was walking along over the TACC, Tactical Control Center, and I noticed all these bees flying all around through our tent city. And I was going, wow, there's a lot of bees around. And I go into the TACC, and everybody's rushing out of the TACC as I'm going. I said, what's going on? It says, the tenants come over to get the swarm of bees. And I'm like, swarm of bees? He says, yeah. You didn't see on the water buffalo out there? There was a water buffalo out front. And I looked at the fender of the water buffalo, and it looked like it was alive with bees all on it. And this second lieutenant, Army second lieutenant, he come over there. He had apparently he grew up on a farm, and he'd done some beekeeping. And he comes over there in his uniform. No, like you're going into hazardous duty.
Yeah, big suit.
Uniform, big suit, nothing like that. No special mask, anything. Just his regular uniform. He goes over there with a paper bag that he had sprayed sugar water on. And he reaches inside that living mass of bees with his bare hands. And he reaches inside there and he says, I found it. He's larger. He says, I found it. And he takes and slowly drags her down onto all that sugar-coated paper. And all the bees followed him and walked away with all them bees following him.
Oh, that's crazy.
I was like, I never would do.
How cool is that, And you got just the right guy for the job. How does that happen,
This guy knew what he was doing.
Yeah, no kidding. That's great.
He's running our grasshopper buddies there. You like cooked grasshoppers?
I can't believe how many grasshoppers are up there.
There's a lot.
Could you see those? I felt bad running over them in the road. Because they were too fat to jump out of the road.
I didn't really notice the grasshopper. I saw a couple of stink bugs because they were sticking their hind end up in the air.
Yeah.
As we were driving. Remember I said that on the radio?
Yeah.
I said, I'll try not to run over this stink bug over here.
Yeah. I saw a couple stink bugs, and the grasshoppers were almost the same color.
Yeah.
And there were some green ones too. I don't know if they were male and female. They looked the same. One was green and one was brown. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. They were big grasshoppers. I haven't seen grasshoppers that big since I've lived in Oklahoma. Scrubbing them off of my window.
That I'm going to call it the neck because I don't know what to call it because they got the neck in Canyonlands over in the Mesa District.
Yeah.
So this is kind of reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
Although the view wasn't quite as expansive here, but that was really cool.
That was way cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a neat little spot. I think just getting off into either side of that because there was a road that went off to the north side of that. It looked like it would have been pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I think there's a little lake, and it's one of the only lakes up here. I think it would have been a nice little area to go check out.
Yeah, so why so many lakes on the other side and next to nothing here? That kind of surprised me.
I don't know. I mean, it's, I guess more, topography here. It's just a little more level change, but over in Grand Mesa, it's like that too. And a lot of those are man-made reservoirs, but still.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. I can remember seeing some signs about dams and stuff.
Yeah, because there's some municipal control there that happens too. Same way with Pinon Mesa back on to the south of Grand Junction. And that's really not that far from here either, but they have a lot of water control there to feed municipal areas down below. Yeah, Yeah, and there's two necks in Canyon Lands. There's the neck where you guys stayed, drove over in the Mesa District, and then right here in the island in the sky, just after you go past the visitor center. So a little section 2, it's called the neck.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I'm sure I've driven over it since I've been all the way out to Grand Viewpoint or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's a cool spot because if you could stretch a gate across the neck, it's only like 50 feet wide right there. It's pretty much enough for the road. But if you were to put a gate right there, then you'd have the island and the sky behind you. So the ranchers would put all their livestock up there. And put a gate right there, and then cows couldn't walk off the cliffs and just keep them all up there. The Mesa District. I still haven't made it out. Worked at Canyon Lands, never been to the Mesa District.
Never been to the Mesa District?
Nope. That's it. Every time I've tried to go out there, the weather's come in or something. I've tried to go in the winter both times, and the snow's come in both times I've had it planned, so never made it out there. But, I think I know the guys have worked out there, and it's a dream place to want to go. It's certainly something special for anywhere in the country, but it's special for Canyon Lands too, to be out there. There's not many places that are that remote, so pretty cool.
It is, yeah. I need to get right back. Two of those trips where we got to the dollhouse, he wasn't on the third.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he hasn't been on there yet. Two that we weren't able to make it the first time because of the weather, the second time because me getting sick.
We need to get some more little trips together too. If there's any time you can make it out for little short trips like this.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's easier for me to put together things on short notice than it is long notice because it's...
I know that's so for some people. That's why I went ahead and posted that on American Outbacks. I know some people are like, I can't plan a year in advance. But I can certainly tell you that I can take a couple of days off next week.
Yeah. And maybe that will ease up for me. I don't know. We'll get through some training and stuff, and I won't have as many surprises.
Using our flame there?
Maybe a little bit.
There, I might stick that there. Big guy right on the bottom there.
Yeah, I was hoping we would have found something a little more, at least a little bit of adventure today, something just a little more challenging. It's good to break up the day. But
Yeah, probably the most exciting thing was the neck or whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Wish we could have stayed in that area.
Which wasn't at all challenging, but just
No.
fun to see.
It was fun to see.
Yeah.
And there's the exposure at least helps for that. At least being close to the cliff edge and feeling like you're out there.
Oh, we were close to the cliff edge coming up above the cliffs there.
Yeah.
It got a little narrow in a couple of places there. Steep drop off.
Yeah, it did.
Or coming down from Land's End. That's a pretty impressive set of switchbacks there. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think a little bit of that's good. It's funny what people enjoy. Going to college, we were having a lecture about Dr. Csikszentmihalyi, and he had this idea of the flow theory, where in order to enjoy something at the highest level, it has to have some risk with it. And whenever the risk is just right, then flow happens. And it's whenever time passes by and you don't notice, you're making decisions, but you don't remember those decisions, and things are happening. And that happens for kids playing video games. For instance, why video games are so addicting. And football players, whatever, they experience some of that, but usually it's extreme sports, rock climbers or skydivers, something like that. The risk level is higher. People who've been in combat know what that is. But it's, there's a particular place where you're bored or you're under challenged, and then you exceed that, and it's instantly, life-threatening if you exceed that level. And so, like a kid playing a video game, they don't have that, but they have a perceived idea of that. So I think that's really cool whenever people are out and about to recognize how they're enjoying the outdoors, and whenever they hit places like that. You can be close to the cliff edge, and it ups your heart rate, and you pay more attention to what you're doing, and it does provide a higher level of enjoyment, excitement, and you kind of reach that flow. But others, that might not be the case. It's just another boring old drive, but it's all in the perception of it, because they can drive down the highway and they don't feel that way. It's a boring old drive, but in reality, they go 18 inches on the wrong side of the line. There's a severe consequence for that, just like there is the edge of a cliff. But it's funny how people perceive risk like that. Like Kenai.
The peninsula?
No, the dog.
The dog.
Far away from the fire.
He's comfortable over there.
Perceived risk of the fire is, it's up here. He does not like the fire. I thought dogs were supposed to like fires. Enjoy sitting in front of the fireplace.
Yeah.
It's nice.
That is kind of a romanticized version of what we prefer.
Not for my dog. She's scared to death of the fire. Kind of outside dog is scared of the fire. Should be ashamed.
She asleep over there?
I think so.
Not moving.
She's not moving. You notice how much she shakes?
I know she shakes her hind legs sometimes.
She shakes that hind leg, and like right now she's shaking too. She'll do it in her sleep.
Yeah.
She's getting old and she's got that shake.
Yeah, I think I'd probably do that. If a pretty lady come over here and start scratching me on my thigh, I think I'd probably start bouncing. That's not going on the video.
Yeah. It happens to most of us, Mike. So what do you enjoy about this, Mark?
About what?
About just going places, seeing things.
Going places, seeing things.
Yeah? I mean, is it that simple?
I to a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah?
I didn't get to travel a lot as a kid, and we couldn't afford to travel very much. I remember really 2 vacations, and then all of our other vacations were to Disneyland. Which you probably think, Disneyland, really? Well, that's because it was only 2-hour drive away from us.
Uh-huh.
We could drive up there, spend the day there, and go back home.
Right.
And so we did that once a year, and that was our vacation. And the 2 vacations were we went to Big Springs, Texas, to visit my uncle who was in the Air Force, and on the way there we stopped at Carlsbad Caverns, and that was kind of neat. And that's Flight Force and stuff. That's Flight Force. That was good. And then the other vacation was in California. My parents were big into square dancing, and they were my dad was the elected president of the San Diego Square Dancing Association or something like that. And he had to go to some conference, didn't have to, but said he would attend some statewide conference of square dance staff, I guess, whatever. I mean, I wasn't a paid position, was volunteer, of course. And so on the way up there was another couple that was actually traveling with us. We were good friends of theirs. We're also big into the square dancing. And so on the way up there, we stopped at Yosemite and Sequoia National Park. And I remember seeing Winchester Mansion there in San Jose, because that's where the conference was at. And so that was my 2 vacations as a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go on vacation.
Right.
And my next door neighbor, who's still the next door neighbor over there, his parents have since passed on, but he still lives in that house. He and I have known each other since about first grade, kindergarten, first grade. He was a year older than me, so he'd been in first grade. I'd been in kindergarten, I guess, or maybe 1 year older. And his dad bought a camper and had that on his pickup truck, and so they went camping a couple of times a month. And they usually went to the Colorado River. They used to talk about going camping. And we'd go to Salton Sea. This is back when Salton Sea wasn't, all poisoned by all the pollutants and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And I always envied them to get to go do that. We could never really afford to do anything like that.
Yeah.
So now I can afford to do it. And I enjoy the traveling. I enjoy the photography. I enjoy the video, making the videos and the storytelling, and just sharing that with people and encouraging people to get out there and experience the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. That's part of my parents, them just getting their teeth and stuff. I really, they got out and hiked and backpacked. And really, I guess my outdoorsiness, growing up, my dad took me fishing and we went on little hikes and stuff, but I got into rock climbing a lot, and my dad jumped in and my mom would go with us, and we'd go spend time outside. And then, after I went to college and start a family and move away, they made friends and went and hiking, backpacking trips and things. And they're older now; they can't get out and do those kinds of things as much. I hear my mom say, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to do that much longer. I won't be able to get out and see these things." Whatever
There's
else,
also that,
and then
for me,
yeah,
I turn 70 next month,
yeah.
so there's also I can't keep doing this for too much longer. It gets more and more difficult.
Yeah. Well, she's in her 70s, now, and so it's I've encouraged them to get the Jeep and go out and see and do as much as you can. Let the Jeep be your legs, because you can still get out to some cool places, and you don't have to hike for 7 or 8 miles to be able to do that. You can get out and see some cool stuff, and it's affordable, like you said. You can, it's really not too outlandish. They can take most of their gear that they still had from backpacking and throw it in the Jeep, and they're set for the weekend. They can do whatever they want. So tank of gas, and you can spend that cruising to, city to go to the zoo or whatever else anyway. So go see whatever you can.
Our fire isn't very impressive.
It is not. We got a smoke pile. That's more impressive.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
So what are we going to do about public lands?
I don't know. With you saying that you're gonna, encouraging people to get out. I was kind of thinking about that. Talking about, me doing the same thing, encouraging my parents to get out, And we've been pretty lucky on this trip. We've seen a handful of Jeeps out in the trails that we've been on. Some people out in UTVs and ATVs, what have you. But
I think going during the week.
We're going during the week. Makes a big difference. But I don't know. Thinking about encouraging people to get out. Working in public lands and playing there too. It's easy to tell it's getting to be a busier place. So I don't know. It's difficult to think about how to balance that out sometimes and encourage people to get out while finding the proper ways to do it. So I don't know. Doing that as a community, I think there's different ways to do it. Mentioned rock climbing, and that's kind of how I don't know. I guess it's really how I've made it into wanting to, work and live in the outdoors as much as I could. And there's some good advocacy groups for rock climbing, the Access Fund,
Right.
things like that. They do a lot of work for, those specific communities. And they do a fair job, I think, working with other communities of, outdoor users. But I don't know what the best solution is, because we're calling this public land, but and it is, it's ownership for all of us. I think it's something we should all have our hand in. But I think it's a pretty big community idea that should go beyond user groups, should go beyond climbers or overlanders or hunters and fishermen or whatever. And we need to have these communities have their place out here. I think we need to recognize that Well, one, we do have a limited commodity in public lands, but at the same time, if we manage that appropriately, then people can get out and, still enjoy their own recreational activity in an appropriate way and still get the experience that they want. We have a certain idea of what we want when we come out, and as well as I do, people don't have that in their head when we tell them we're a jeeper, we're going to go out and hit some jeep trails, so how to be advocates for our community and have a good impression on people is up to our community and how we do that.
I try to avoid that term. I don't 100%, but I try to avoid that term off-road.
Yeah.
Because we don't really go off-road.
No, definitely not. And, there's different answers for it, I think, in different places. And you'll hear people talk about, whether they want to share their favorite campsites or other things. And, they're good people and they know how to do the right thing and be responsible outdoor travelers and take care of the place when they're out there. So I always tell people, just before you share those sites, make sure you share your ethics first. Ultimately, it is about ethics. It's just about how we treat each other when we're out here, other recreational users, and how we treat the environment that we're in, the resources that are here that provide our recreational activity. Some people they're recreational adventurers. They're out there to enjoy an activity itself, and they don't have much appreciation for the resource that's there. Others do it for their enjoyment of the resource that's there, and the recreational activity is simply a gateway to enjoy that resource. You have somebody that's a boater, and they can enjoy boating because they like boats. They can enjoy boating because they like the peace and solitude of being on the water. They're still boaters, but they're far different people, and they have a far different expectation of being a boater. And a rock climber, an overlander, a hiker, these aren't different things. Some people want to see how many miles they can get in a day, and they're going to push through, all this territory to do it, and they're going to bushwhack from here to there. And other people are going to do it more responsibly, and they're going to stay the trail, and they're going to practice leave no trace principles. And so it's all up to us as a community to decide what's appropriate and what's not. Some of that's a community, it's just an individual user group, and some of it's a community of outdoor users, and some of it's a democracy. It goes bigger. It's up to us as a democracy to decide what's appropriate for our public lands, whether that's to go and extract oil and gas, or whether that's to preserve that for some other activity. We have multi-use land, and that's okay. There are places that can happen, but oftentimes that doesn't mean that they can happen in the same place. It just means that America's a big place, and we should have BLM land here and BLM land there, what have you, and we should still manage those within a certain spectrum of activity, as a unique purpose. Because it's difficult when you try and mix those together. Even just recreational activities, to blend those recreational activities together and not have conflict with different user groups is tough. To do it with oil and gas extraction or mining or other things, it gets even more complicated. Sometimes those might mix together, sometimes they might not. So it just has to be a process that works, and we should just be able to speak up and have our voice in it. You should just like you go and vote, you should be able to speak up for your public lands in lots of different ways. But I don't know. Do you think there's anything else that we can do? Users of public lands that's keeps it within that frame, kind of like you said, off-roading. Public lands is kind of a term that's pretty broad too. People don't understand that. They don't know a national forest from a national park from a state park. They just don't. So
I get a kick out of people who are disappointed when they can't use their national parks pass at their local state park.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there's they just don't know the difference. And there's a different set of criteria that come with those places, even within our national park system. There's just different criteria. We do have recreational areas and conservation areas, and we have national parks and
Wilderness
memorials, wilderness areas, and
wildlife management areas.
Reserves, preserves, and people don't know these things, so it's difficult and it's complex to understand. So I think until we just can educate our own communities within ourselves, to act ethically, then we're always going to have problems. So if we can do it ethically and help people understand why things should happen in a particular way, then it'll be good. And I think responsible users, by making sure they just share that ethic before they share their favorite campsite, that's probably the first step. That's about as simply as I can put it. Just say, share your ethic before you share your campsite, or before you share any bit of knowledge about something, how to do something with another. Make sure they understand why they should do it a particular way, and why that's going to be important to the rest of us in the future.
Good words.
Yeah. Have you read Sin County Almanac? Aldo Leopold? You should check out Sin County Almanac. So it's a good little read. It's easy to read. The almanac portion of it is just stories of, it's like a little ecology lesson. He says, it's January and it's the first thaw, and this is, the first big freeze, and this is what's happening, and then it's March and it's the first thaw. The skunk is doing this and the hawk is doing that. And it's sort of just a year of ecology lessons that sort of mixed together. It's really cool. And then it turns into sketches here and there, which is sort of him telling stories of forest management. He was one of the first guys to say, although you're in charge of this forest, what do you want to do with it? We should just leave this one alone. We should just leave it. So he was one of the first preservationists, in the Forest Service, really worked with this idea. And then in the latter portion of it, he's a little more direct and a little more bitter about how harsh we are on the environment. And he sort of presents this idea of, over tourism. And this was, an early forest system, development. So this is a long ways away from where we are today. Much like Thoreau or people like that, John Muir, that saw people as, a threat, even if they were coming to love the land. There has to be something else besides love to go with it. And I think Aldo hit that on the head with ethics. But basically, the way he felt about it was the wilderness was wherever you could go and make yourself a part of the land. As long as you considered yourself a part of the community when you got there, then you were in the wilderness. I think that's kind of cool. I've always struggled with this idea of what the wilderness is. So we sort of have land management terms for that. No mechanized travel, a place where man does not remain. I don't agree with those terms. Maybe no mechanized travel, but that's only to a certain extent. Is this any less wilderness because we're here right now? And if so, is it any less wilderness because we have our vehicles with us right now, or even a mountain bike? I don't know whether those are things that necessarily detract from the wilderness. And I think that just by saying that, it's a threat to the wilderness because we detach ourselves from it in saying those words. And not so long ago, we were a permanent fixture in the wilderness. This was there's just as much home for us as it was a squirrel or a rabbit. So I think there's certain dangers in defining the wilderness like that. I suppose it works as a modern definition of what we should want wilderness to be now, but at the same time, I don't think that it puts people in the right mindset to have a wilderness ethic.
I had a guy contact me way back when, because I used the word wilderness on some of my videos. He says, you should never say you're going to the wilderness because you're driving Jeeps, and you don't drive Jeeps into the wilderness. And I was kind of like, wait a minute, you're talking about the wilderness capital W, and I'm talking about the wilderness little w, and it's a different thing. And then We were talking about one video in particular, and it was about Canyonlands. And so I went to the Canyonlands page, and the very first sentence it says, "Come and visit us in the wilderness on island in the sky." I'm kind of like, I mean, this is the National Park Service using this word this way, and you say it's going to prejudice people against us because we say we're trampling the wilderness, going in the wilderness.
Well, right now, we are in a national forest. And from sitting where I am right now, I cannot touch a single tree. So I mean, there are boundaries to this. You know, within most roads. I mean, you can drive White Rim, you know, go through White Rim and Canyonlands, and unless you walk 500 feet from that road, you're not in the wilderness, technically. Does that make it any less wilderness to you or I, who might be on the road, or the mountain biker who might be on the road, or the hiker who might be on the road? No, it's the wilderness. You know, so I think we just, that's the danger in it, is we get caught up in technicality, and instead of just having an appreciation for what it is, and taking that ethic with us when we go. However we get there, however close we are, you know, these are legislative terms, which those aren't always like cut and dry. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, I did. But I understand the Congress, when they write a law, gets to define every word they're going to use in that law.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, whatever they want.
Yeah, so, you know, and if we don't have a definition for it, you know, we can contrive one up. And, you know, I don't think that, like I said, I think the legal definitions of wilderness probably work as good as anything can, you know, for something that's a pretty broad concept. But, you know, I do think the wilderness is a particular place, you know, and I think that in the eyes of the greatest of greats, you know, it always has been a particular place. Like if you're looking for John Muir, you know, trying to decide where to go when he got to the United States, and he's coming down the East Coast, and he's trying to decide whether he wants to go down and go into South America and check things out, or he's heard about Yosemite, and he might go to Yosemite. And this is in his book, The Yosemite. I can't remember the quote exactly, but something like, the whole world was before me, and every day was a holiday. So it seemed not important as to which one of the world's wildernesses I first should want. So he recognized that it was a particular place, and there were these places in the world that were the wilderness. You know, even like looking in the Bible, you find references to the wilderness.
Oh yeah.
You know, let my people go to the wilderness so they may worship me. Things like that. And, you know, there's some other weird stuff if you get into that you know, become less cut and dry and up for interpretation. It was, you know, a wild and unruly place, or was it a holy and true place? And depending on your depiction of those stories, you know, that can be different. But nonetheless, terms of the wilderness are something that, you know, was a representative or a like of the wilderness, is there, you know, for a long time. And it's been a special place, one way or the other, for a long time. So, you know, Congress wasn't the first to come up with this idea of wilderness and what it should be. But
well, I got plenty. I should be able to get 30 seconds out of all that.
surely. You got me going now, Mark. We just keep talking about it.
Oh, you can keep talking. I just don't think I need to record anymore. I got plenty enough to put just a few words together. Oh my goodness. All right.